All right, so we're on 8.5, angles of elevation and depression. So like I just told you, I would at the top of my notes put SOHCAHTOA, just until you're really good at it maybe, okay? So the only, I guess, new thing I have to show you is this angle of elevation, angle of depression thing. After that, it's the same thing. We draw a picture, we have a triangle, we use SOHCAHTOA, okay? So when you hear the word depression, I know this is math, but still you think depressed, like down, like you're down on yourself, right? So depression angle goes from, this is called the line of sight. I'll explain that better in a second. But the line of sight going down. Does everybody understand this one is depression? Okay? Elevation, you elevate yourself, you look up, right? So line of sight looking up, elevation. Okay? Let me go back to the line of sight part. You guys get like this is the ground, right? Okay? So this person, their line of sight, it's always parallel with the ground. Okay? So his line of sight is here, and if he's looking up at the plane, this is his angle of elevation. If I'm in the plane looking down at the person, again, parallel to the ground, this is my line of sight, and I'm looking down. Do you guys get the difference? Okay? So, do you also get that before today, before I told you those are angles of elevation and depression, what did we used to call those angles? Two parallel lines cut by a transversal. Very good. Yeah, alternate interior. Do you guys see that those are alternate interior angles from way back ago, right? So alternate interior angles, what do we know about them? Very good. They're congruent. Awesome. So if I know this is 30, I automatically know that's 30. Is that okay? Okay. Do you guys also see I can make a right triangle out of either of those? Do you see that? So that's where SOHCAHTOA is going to come in. Okay? All right. First question. On tests and quizzes, sometimes, like yesterday, I gave you a picture to kind of help you. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I give you nothing but words. So if I were you, I'd maybe cover up the picture for just a second and see if you could kind of come up with it on your own, okay? So at the circus, a person in the audience at ground level watches the high wire routine. A 5'6" tall acrobat is standing on a platform that's 25 feet off the ground. How far is the audience member from the base of the platform if the angle of elevation from the audience's member of line of sight audience members' line of sight to the top of the acrobat's head is 27 degrees. It's a lot of stuff. In the end, we should have a right triangle somehow. Okay? So you can go ahead and look at your picture now. All right? We've got a high wire, right? Here's the platform. Here's the acrobat. Okay? You're in the audience or whoever watching it. Everybody get that? Okay? Blah, 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 5'6". Okay, that's going to go somewhere, right? Right here is 5.5 feet. Does everybody get that? That's how I'd probably write it. Okay. This is 5.5 feet. Where's the 25 feet go? All this, right? So from the ground to the platform is 25 feet. From here to the top of the person's head is, what did I say, 5.5 feet. So what's this whole side? 30.5 feet. Do you guys understand that? So from the ground to the platform is 25 feet. 5'6", you guys know 12 inches in a foot, right? So this person is 5.5 feet tall. So the whole side of my triangle in a moment is going to be 30.5 feet. Is that okay? Okay. So I've now used this information and this information. Okay. How far is the audience member from the base of the platform, the pole? When I write tests and quizzes, I try to be as specific as possible. So yesterday on that hill question, when it said, what is the vertical distance? That was my way of saying, like, nobody has an option. Vertical is this way. Do you see what I'm saying? So I try to be as specific as I can. How far is the audience member from the base of the platform? They're looking for this. Is that okay? Okay. And then they said, angle of elevation from the audience member's line of sight to the acrobat's head. So my angle of elevation is 27. Do you guys get why I put the numbers where I put them? Does everybody get why I put whatever where I put it? Are we okay? Okay. So from here, the picture's good. It works, but that's kind of a lot for me. I don't really like to look at it that way. I prefer just to look at like a regular triangle. So I go off on the side, and I write it this way. 30.5 x and 27. So now it looks just like the quiz. Do you guys see what I'm saying? For me, that's easier to look at than all of this. But all of this I kind of needed in order to get here. Okay? So here's the part that you guys have still been struggling with. Whenever you're solving a right triangle, okay, some people were trying to use Pythagorean theorem here. You can't use that if you're looking for an angle. That won't work, right? So if I had this right here, if I had the hypotenuse and I was missing x, I could use Pythagorean theorem there, right? Bless you. But I don't have that, so I'm going to have to use SOHCAHTOA. Bless you. This is a right triangle again. Okay, so whenever it's a right triangle, you can use SOHCAHTOA. So I'm going to do, I don't know if it's sine, cosine, or tangent of the angle equals something over something. This is what we do every time. You pick sine, cosine, or tangent of the angle something over something. Do you have a question or are you wanting to help me? Okay, give me 1 second. Thank you, though. Does everybody get that that's what you're going to do every time? Okay. So the angle that I'm talking about is this 27. If you really wanted to, I mean, I guess you could find this angle up here, but I don't really see a point in doing that. They already gave you an angle, that's fine. So everybody, from 27, I'm going to give these a name. Your only options are opposite, hypotenuse, or adjacent, right? From 27, what's 30 and a half called? Opposite. From 27, what's x called? Adjacent, right? Hypotenuse is always hypotenuse. It's never opposite. It's never adjacent. Am I making sense? Okay, great. So, again, at the top of your notes, you have SOHCAHTOA, right? I have an opposite and I have an adjacent. That one. Do you guys get, that's how I know which one to use? So what's that one called? Tangent, right? So I've got tangent of the angle I used. I used the 27, okay? And tangent is, I'm going to squeeze this in really quickly. It's opposite over adjacent. If you're still struggling, I would maybe write that down, right? And what did we say the opposite was again? 30.5. And what did we say the adjacent was? Okay? So that's kind of a lot. I just wanted to really take it back really far and make sure you guys got it. So I don't like to look at all that either. That's kind of a lot for me. So I'm just going to rewrite it with what I need. Tangent 27 equals 30 and a half over x. Okay, you don't have to do all that extra stuff I just did. I just want to make sure for people who were confused, you get kind of like the gist of it, okay? From here, it's technically algebra 1. Don't let yourself get intimidated because it says the word tangent. I don't care, right? I'm getting x alone. So what am I going to do to get x alone? Yeah, most people just multiply by x, right? And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Is that okay? So that's x tangent of 27 equals 30 and a half. Now what's in the way of of x being alone? This is in the way. What's it doing to x? Multiplying. So how do you get rid of it? Divide, right? And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So whatever my calculator tells me 30 and a half over tangent of 27 is whatever the answer is, right? So one more time for the video. I know I told you guys, but for the video, make sure you're in degrees. To check it, you can take the sine of 30. You should get 0.5. If you don't, you're in the wrong mode and you need to change your calculator. Sometimes turning it off and on is fine. Sometimes you have to go to your mode. Okay? It didn't tell us where to round, so I just rounded to the nearest foot. What did you guys get? Nearest foot. So nearest hole. 60 feet. Good. They're sitting about 60 feet away. Is that okay? Is it? Okay, bring it over. Let me see it. Anybody else's calculator giving you something weird? Or not right? Okay. You could be in the wrong mode. No, you're in degrees. 30 divided tangent 27. I think your calculator doesn't like a decimal inside of a fraction. So if we do division instead, which is, I know that's the same thing, but your calculator just doesn't like it. You see what I'm saying? Over, what did I say, tangent 27? It should be okay. Okay? Okay. Everybody else okay? Alright, good. Next question. Again, I would almost pretend you don't have the picture just so you could draw it on your own if you had to. Maria is at the top of a cliff and she sees a seal in the water. If the cliff is 40 feet above the water and the angle of depression is 52 degrees, what is the horizontal distance from the seal to the cliff to the nearest foot? Okay, so again, somehow we're going to end up with a right triangle or we messed up, okay? So I've got a cliff, I've got water, I've got a seal in the water. Person, I'm saying she's laying down looking over the side because they didn't tell me how tall she was. Do you see what I'm saying? The acrobat, they told me, was 5.5 feet tall, so I had to include that height in my height. But here they didn't tell me how tall they were, so I'm just guessing she's laying down. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So the first thing I see is the cliff is 40 feet above the water. Where does that go?
It goes right above the water.
The vertical, right? Right here. Somebody get that that's the 40 feet. Okay? Angle of depression is 52 degrees. So here's her line of sight, right? Angle of depression to the seal is 52 degrees. Do you guys see how I drew the horizontal to the ground or the ocean or whatever here? The line of sight and then going down is the 52? That's depression, right? Okay. What is the horizontal distance from the seal to the cliff? So that's very specific. Nobody can say I didn't know where to put X here. Do you see what I'm saying? So the horizontal is X. Is that okay? Okay. So I'm going to, in a second, draw just the triangle so I don't have to look at like the extra picture stuff. So here's one way to do it. If this is obviously my right angle, right? If this is 52, then this is 52. Do you guys get that? Is that okay? However, a different way to do it, if you're really, really terrible with X being in the denominator in just a second, it's kind of not an option. Eventually you have to be okay with that. But if you're really not good at it and it's a test or quiz and you're freaking out, here's what you could do instead. Isn't this also a right angle? Right? Couldn't I find what this angle is by subtracting 52 from 90? Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so that's an option. I'm going to do it that way on the next question if you don't understand what I'm saying. I typically prefer to do less math. If this is 52, this is 52, I didn't have to think. So for this question, I'm going to just use the 52. Is that okay? Okay, on the next one, if you don't understand what I'm saying, I'll show you with an example. So this is 40, this is X, and this is 52. Is everybody okay with my triangle? Okay? It's a right triangle, so SOHCAHTOA is an option. All right? It's the only option because I can't use Pythagorean theorem because I don't have two sides. It's not an option, and I'm not even looking for that anyway, so it doesn't matter. So, from the 52, what's 40? Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Opposite. What's the X? Adjacent. So that's O and A. So again, I'm saying tangent of the angle here is 52, equals opposite over adjacent. Do you guys understand how I set that up? That's the hard part, right? Does everybody understand why I chose tangent? Okay. And then it's opposite and then adjacent, so I had to do 40 over X. So what I was saying before is some people really struggle when X is in the bottom. So if that's you, first of all, again, you kind of need to figure it out, right? But also you could have done this instead and the X wouldn't have been in the denominator. But I'll show you that on the next question. So if you don't like to multiply by X on both sides instead, you can make this over a 1 and you could cross multiply if you'd prefer. That's an option as well. Pick one, okay? I usually multiply by X, gone, multiply by X. Okay, do you have a question or you want to help me?
So, will it always end up coming out to...
That's a good question. People keep asking if it's always going to be tangent. It depends on the picture and it depends on what you're given. On these questions, most of the time it's probably tangent, but I don't want you to memorize a blanket statement that's not always going to be true depending on what they give you. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, most of the time these are probably tangent. Okay, so now I have X tangent 52 equals 40, so I've got to divide by that tangent 52. And this one said to the nearest foot, so they told us where to round. So what is 40 over tangent 52? 31 feet, right? Did I lose anybody? Anybody's calculator not like that? Okay. All right, last one. Vernon is on the top deck of a cruise ship and observes two dolphins following each other directly away from the ship in a straight line. Vernon's position is 154 meters above sea level, and the angles of depression to the two dolphins are 35 degrees and 36 degrees. Find the distance between the two dolphins to the nearest meter. So, you guys have a boat. You got Vernon on the boat. You got water. You got dolphin 1, dolphin 2. Okay? They told me he's 154 meters above sea level. Sorry, that's hard to see, but that's 154. Is that okay? Okay. And then angles of depression. So again, here's my line of sight, right? So angles of depression are going to be going down from that line of sight. Is everybody okay with where I am right now? All right. I've done the 154. I'll do those two in a second. Find the distance between the two dolphins. So they're looking for X right here. Does everybody get that? Okay. Let's do these angles of depression. One of these is going to be 35 and one of these is going to be 36. It matters which one goes where. Okay. So look up here. If I'm going to make it up, because 35 and 36 are so close, I don't think you're going to get it. So if I say like 20 and 40, okay, one of these is 20 and one of these is 40, okay? So option 1, option 2. Which one's 20 and which one's 40? So 20 is option 1 or option 2? 1, the smaller one, right? If it's bigger, it opens up wider, okay? So if we don't know which one goes where, we just have to think. If I'm going here, that's the smaller angle, isn't it? If I'm going here, that's bigger, isn't it? Right? So this one here is my 35. This one here is my 36. Do you guys follow that? Okay. All right. So I can do what I did on that last one. I can make these 35 and 36 here for my alternate interior, but I'm not going to. I'm instead going to find the complement, so that way we're not doing a letter in the bottom. It doesn't matter. You totally can. I don't care. I'm just not going to. Okay? So in a moment, we'll deal with that. So on this question, I'm going to have to do two triangles, right? Do you guys see this right triangle here to dolphin 1? Okay? And do you see this right triangle here to dolphin 2? Do you guys see that? Right? If they want this distance, neither one of those triangles is going to give me that. I'm going to find this right here, and I'm going to find this right here. So how do I find that? Very good. You subtract them, right? Two separate triangles, you find your sides. So like if this was 20 and this was 30, what's that? 10. You subtract. Does everybody follow what I'm saying? Okay? So we'll do that in a second. So for right now, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to draw my two triangles, okay? I've got dolphin 1 triangle. Here's dolphin 1. This is still 154. I've got dolphin 2 triangle. Sorry, these don't look great, but you get it. Dolphin 2 triangle. This is still 154. Okay? So like I said before, if you want to use the 35 and 36, you totally can. I'm going to not do it that way on purpose. I want to show you how to do it the other way. If you want to, that's fine. You'll just have a variable in the denominator. Okay? This dolphin 1, this was 36. So what's this? Whatever 90 minus 36 is, right? So what's this? 54. Very good. Okay? On dolphin 2, this was 35. So what's 90 minus 35? 55. Did everybody get how I did that? Okay? Because this is 90 here, right? You don't have to do that. You can do it the way I did all the other questions. It doesn't matter. I don't care. All right? Now, when we get into this problem, we're going to get kind of lost and we're going to forget what we were doing. So I like to go ahead and write it down now. I only like to call X what I'm looking for. So I'm going to call from the ship to dolphin 1, Y. I'm going to call from the ship to dolphin 2, Z. You don't have to do what I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to be as specific as possible. So what I'm saying is I'm calling this Y and I'm calling this Z. The length from the ship to dolphin 1 is Y, from the ship to dolphin 2 is Z. I don't want to call them X because if I do, I'll think I'm done. Do you see what I'm saying? So in the end, you guys already told me X is going to be equal to this one minus this one. You guys already said that. You don't have to write this down if I've lost you. But what you're going to find out is after we get going with these two questions, you're going to kind of be like, what was I doing again? And this kind of helps me remember what my goal is. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to do from 54, opposite, adjacent, tangent. Right? So tangent of 54 equals y over 154. So all I have to do on this one is multiply by 154 on both sides, right? Everybody do that and see what you get. 154 times tangent of 54. something like that, right? 211.96 da 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 something, right? Okay? So, here's what I want you to listen to. Did everybody at least get that? You're still being weird. Does it still say D on it for degrees? You took 154 times tangent of 54? Okay. Try it again. You should get this, okay? Where am I at? So the question said in the end to round to the nearest meter, right? If I round this to the nearest meter and this, and I subtract and I round that to the nearest meter, I'm rounding way too many times. You really shouldn't round until the very end of the problem. So in the other classes, I taught them like how to store and recall stuff on their calculator, but honestly, it just confuses people. So I'll show you that another day because it's not the point today. But what I'm going to do is make sure I don't round to the nearest meter until I'm done. I give them a couple extra decimals. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay? So on this one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say tangent of 55 this time equals opposite is z, adjacent is 154. So for me, I'm going to multiply by 154 on both sides again. You're going to plug this into your calculator. Give me a couple extra decimals past a meter, right?
219.93.
That's what you're supposed to get. Okay? I'm going to pause there. If anybody's not getting that, you need to tell me, okay? So one more time, this is where we're like, what were we doing again, right? We're trying to find the distance between the two dolphins. So what we just found was this thing here and this thing here, but I want this piece. So that's why I wrote down, in the end, take z minus y, or take the big one minus the little one, right? So what do you get when you take this one minus that one to the nearest meter? We can round now. Yeah, we can round now. So this is 8 meters apart. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and shut off the video, but if I lost you somewhere, your calculator's being really weird, I want you to let me know before we move on, okay?